For decades, Boeing has had a reputation for designing, manufacturing, and selling, among other things, satellites, rockets, missiles, but most importantly, airplanes, through which they've made quite a name for themselves. We are no stranger to the challenges that Boeing has waged over the past few years. That is why we, Akaloy Consultancies, are here today. We have dealt with things like the Volkswagen emissions scandal, the Honda recall, and the Facebook privacy scandal. Ladies and gentlemen, Boeing, which was founded in 1916 in Seattle, Washington, will be the main focus of our presentation today. Let's take a look at the agenda. The agenda includes a deep analysis into Boeing Company's problems, the solutions we suggest, our recommendation, how to implement that recommendation, and finally, a conclusion.
The SWOT analyst. For this parent company, Boeing had a strong competitive in terms of R&D because they had the main focus on research and development activities. They also have a low business rate due to the geography diversification. For the weakness, Boeing it passes because they rely mainly on supplier and subcontractor. For the opportunity, Boeing is one of two major manufacturers of over 100-seat airplane in airline industry. Also, the aerospace see growing opportunity in Asia Pacific, Middle East, and Africa regions. So it's a potential to raise Boeing revenue. In terms of threat, airline industry is an intense competition. So Boeing had to face a lot of aggressive international competitors, such as Airbus and other companies. So now we will go to the poster file for analysts. For the three new engines, it is low because it costs a huge amount of money for new engines if they want to enter the country. Also, for the bargaining power of supplier and buyer is low because there are a lot of supplier and a lot of consumer. Boeing have the power to negotiate the price as well as they don't have to worry about the consumer. But in contrast, the threat of substitute is high because Boeing can be replaced by other kind of transportation such as ship, car, or private jets. And for the industry rivalry, it is high because Boeing have to compete with Airbus, one of their biggest competitors, and this put Boeing in a high pressure.
Airbus is Boeing's biggest competitor. Since 2008 up to 2018, they've had a similar amount of deliveries, but in 2019, Airbus took the lead with almost 600 deliveries compared to the 300 deliveries that Boeing had. The financial analysis, as you can see, almost all the numbers are in the negatives, which is not good. The shareholders are probably unhappy because the basic loss earning per share is minus $1.1 million. And the operating cash flow value is also in the negatives, meaning that Boeing doesn't have enough money for the day-to-day expenses that they have. This was caused by the 737 crashes, one by the Indonesian airline and the one by Ethiopian airline. Not enough work was done after the Indonesian crash, and maybe if more was done, then the Ethiopian one would have been prevented. The direct reason is the plane wise. There was not enough pin inspection and there were faults with the plane's design, which led to the crash. And as you can see in the screenshot next to me, a simulator idea specifically for 737 was turned down, and if that was given a green light, maybe this would have been prevented. The indirect reason was too much spending on share buybacks and dividends and not enough on R&D. More should have been done in order for the Boeing Airlines to not crash if more money was put into R&D. Consequences are two: huge financial loss and loss of trust. Huge financial loss, you can see the biggest loss is in revenue, where it had $24.3 billion in 2018 and it dropped all the way down to $15.8 billion, which is almost a $10 billion difference within 1 year. The loss of trust was a huge delivery collapse. The average amount of deliveries from 2015 to 2018 was 769 planes. In 2019 it was 345, which is almost half, which is not good. The solutions next will do it all.
Hi everyone, I'm Kelvin. The solution we provided for Boeing has been divided into three parts, in the purpose of rebuilding the trust from our customers and a solution for future security improvement. For the first one, PR campaign. It is an action company take to communicate with public and further rebuilding the trust with the help of various media channels. Basically, is to get in public attention with the story contain our own interest. So the channel we recommended here are publicity, documentary, and social involvement. In terms of publicity, we want to use specifically like news report and social media to speak to the public. The advantage of this method is having relatively low cost and efficiency for spreading a message. Second one, documentary. However, it's just more innovative way of speaking our own story with the help of shooting techniques and editing skills. It allows us to speak and form a stronger argument, but expensive. Social improvement. It is an idea sparked by the CSR, basically company trying to present more often, showing their support and interact with people in the community. This way is definitely helpful, but more time consuming. In terms of pros and cons, publicity in general is fastest and most efficient way to access public attention and reconnect with society. However, it would also lead to disastrous results if the company did not well prepared and were failed the conversation with the public. Secondly, changing strategic concentration. Based on analysis of indirect reason, management definitely gonna be responsible in terms of lack of financial investment used on technology and R&D. So shifting the concentration on technology and R&D is a first step for Boeing to take externally. But how? We recommended Boeing could get started thinking except self-development, the technology and security, but also considering giving out to other companies, which is technology outsourcing. Later in our implementation part, we have already found the technology and ready to use for improving the plant security and presented by me and Lindsay. For pros and cons, definitely the security of the plant and our services would get improved and avoid the crisis like this from happening again. For cons, if the Boeing decided to self-develop it themselves, it will be definitely time consuming and also costly. So that's why we strongly suggest Boeing to do technology outsourcing.
Let's take a look at our proposed solution number 3, which is improving ground operations. It's an internal solution which involves plane maintenance, safety, and crew training. Like all the other solutions, this one has their own pros and cons as well. The pros are going to be improved service quality, more safety in the planes, and more efficient workforce. The con, however, is going to be low profitability, and there's going to be a lot of pressure on the workforce to do their jobs and go to training simultaneously. Let's take a look at the decision criteria. Over here, you can see that we have split up our 3 solutions and their subsections into a table for easier understanding. As you can see, publicity, outsourcing, and crew training all will have positive results. Publicity and outsourcing have a faster time to respond, and they are cost saving, meaning they will not cost as much as crew training. Although crew training is very expensive, the time to respond is quicker, and since the workers are going to be more trained and highly capable of handling their responsibilities, the result is going to be positive as well.
Based on our decision criteria and 3 possible solutions, we choose 2 solutions, one for short-term and one for long-term. So publicity for PR campaigns will be our short-term solutions, and the long-term will be technology outsourcing. The reason why we choose PR campaign as our short-term solutions because we review influencers and they have an impact on consumer decisions. 49% of consumers depends on influencer recommendations on social media.
Hi, I'm Ashrof and I'll be taking on now. I'll be explaining the process of publicity and so that the company reaches its goals. As you know, publicity is temporary, but this will help the company regain its trust of the customers. So these are the steps to publicize effectively. First is preparation, second is choosing a proper communication channel so large customers can be reached, and lastly is the results. Let's start with preparation. In preparation, accompanying or acknowledging the issue is our main aim, and this can be done by setting up an independent investigation. The purpose of this is to make the customers understand why this crashes happened or took place, and also explaining them the future steps. In preparing or during preparing, you have to keep these 2 goals in mind. In goal 1, first you have to make sure that the customer understands why this crash has happened. And second is to keeping the customers updated about the crashes no matter how bad they are. This is because customers prefer honesty rather than false information. Lastly is to identify and confirm the final steps that Boeing would be taking regarding these crashes. Goal 2 is to analyze the articles and the social discussions. Social discussions are important as this keep the business and the customers connected and also boost the sales of the company by acting according to their requests. Goal 1 will show that the company is taking responsibility for the crashes, and Goal 2 will make the customers understand that Boeing is aware about the public opinion. Now let's going on to choosing the proper communication channel. Before choosing a channel, we have to first understand the customers. And by customers, I mean understanding the age that the customers fall into. This is a chart showing 3 different age groups using 4 different kinds of social media. And our target customers here would be those who are aged 34 to 55 and above. This is a breakdown of the previous chart, and this shows this total number of customers using the following platforms. Now, before choosing on a specific platform, let's just look at the cost. This is the total marketing budget, which is of the company, which is $100 million, and the following are the costs. Facebook and Twitter will be between $2,000 to $5,000 per month, and Instagram and Snapchat is above $1,000 per month. For local TV, it'll be $5,000 for every million views. So after looking at the budget of the company and the cost, we have come to the conclusion that the company should go for all the platforms, including the local TV, to publicize. Now, our main audience here would be the customers, the employees, shareholders, and the government. And the result of an effective publicity would be the acceptance of apology by the customers and regaining the trust of the company.
Hello everyone, I'm Lindsay. Today I will show you the long-term implementation, which is about technology outsourcing. I will talk about the technology and the implementation details. The technology is structural health monitoring, which we call it SHM. It has 2 sensors, CVM and PZT. CVM is comparative vacuum monitoring, which can improve crack detection by monitoring galleries. CVM sensors are installed in experience fatigue on airplane. The sensors are bonded to the surface of the airplane, thus sucks out the atmosphere, creating a vacuum inside the gallery. When a tiny crack intersects the gallery, the pressure changes. The sensors are able to detect and record the pressure change, and also be able to alert the inspector if there is any cracks occurred on plane and lead to further security issues. PZT is piezoelectric sensors, which are strategically distributed in polyimide films that adhere to an airplane surface to monitor specific regions for damage. The array of PZT sensors communicate with one another by transmitting and receiving ultrasonic surface waves. This creates a mini communications network. The damage on the airplane disrupts or changes the signal patterns from the baseline communication signals. SLRs is a software used with PZT, which is able to measure and analyze any changes called the damage index and send an alert to the inspector. The composite structures of the SHM have 4 functions to the airplane. The first one is that a laminated composite airplane panel could monitor the events that cannot predict where the panel suffers an impact damage. The second one is that the impact is identified by onboard PZT sensors, which locate the point of the impact. The third one is that the selective SHM sensors are installed around the damaged region to image it in order to monitor further damage growth, as the panel is subject to cyclic loading. The final function is that measured damage size is used in a probabilistic fatigue damage model, which estimates the remaining lifetime of the structure. For example, if there is a security concern on the airplane, The sensor will save time for pilot to make decisions by alerting inspector with visual information and providing location of the issue on the airplane.
Throughout the testing, the sensors could be used perfectly. The first test the bridge gap from map and routing used in the aircraft. The field tests have helped fine-tune the sensors so aircraft can withstand harsh environments, neither of which is as new as the laboratories where the sensors were initially tested. For example, field testing showed that the machines working in the cramped bow of an aircraft couldn't see well enough to connect the sensors tube together by hand. So the team designed the snap clip type connectors for CVM sensors, like those used to plug a telephone line into a wall outlet. With today's routine, maintenance inspectors often need to remove a cabin interior seat or galleys to conduct inspections after testing. But the onboard sensors mounted in place, the machine can plug in from a convenient location to acquire the sensor data without the time and the cost of removing items. Such part removal such as introduce the possibility of damaging the structure during the assembly. Such early damage detection and the repairs provided by SHM program also are cost effective because they reduce the need for subsequent major repairs.
The timeline is ranging from 2021 to 2025. In 2021, there'll be research about publicity and which technology outsourcing to go for. In 2022, there'll be a selection of a technology outsourcing and publicity will go on through the PR campaign. In 2023, there will be a continuation of application of technology outsourcing, and then the public will be informed about what's going on. In 2024, there'll be a continuation of analysis of public opinion, and techniques will continue to be carried out for technology outsourcing. And in 2025, there'll be an evaluation of how technology outsourcing was successful or not ever since 2021.
To wrap it all up, the problem we identified was a lack of trust between stakeholders and the owners. The cause of this was the two 737 crashes. Our proposed solution is going to be publicity and a PR campaign for the short term and change in strategical concentration for the long term, which will result in a gain in trust between stakeholder groups and the owners and more financial stability. Ladies and gentlemen, trust is a very easy thing to lose and it's very difficult to regain. But we can assure you that as long as everyone has a positive attitude and everyone's patient, we are perseverant, and we give it time, we will regain our contract and customers again. Thank you so much for your time.